When I did a series on what to watch through the COVID recession, COVID depression, whatever we're going to call it, one of the things that I left out was gold or Bitcoin. And there was a very good reason for those omissions. They're not really going anywhere. Okay, actually, two good reasons. They're not really going anywhere, and I don't understand why. Let me explain a little bit. See, in the last major crisis in 2007, 2008, we saw gold roughly double in value. It was a huge gain. Bitcoin didn't really exist at that point, so we can just leave that aside. And I'm going to treat them as basically the same thing. Non traditional currencies, places that people might use as a store of value in a place to go in a crisis. They might move independently of each other, but they are certainly something that I think should be looked at as an alternative. And we certainly have record of what gold did the last time. Now, it doubled in value is pretty impressive, yes, but the 2007 2008 crisis, first of all, I started in 2007. That was the peak of the stock market here in the United States, was a full year before Lehman collapsed. That was when gold started its big rise up. See, that particular event was much slower moving than this one. That's the real key. What is happening here is largely unprecedented in that sense. When I say that the financial advisors and the Federal Reserve and government officials are pretty much winging it, that they don't know what they're doing because they can't possibly know what to do, they do have good instincts. And that is important. What is possibly more important than that is that right now, the rest of the world is looking to the United States, the Federal Reserve in particular, as the standard. We are the gold standard. There is not a flight to gold. It's up 12% over the year, but most of those gains came in March. Since the crisis really came before March, since the crisis started, the net gain for gold is tiny at best, and at one point it was even down. Bitcoin just goes up and down so much. I'm just going to call it even. It's not relevant. I don't like to use very precise numbers, particularly because you might be watching this video months from now. They're going sideways. They're going largely sideways, whereas the US dollar seems to be holding in value. Now, when I made a call to watch the renminbi US dollar conversion to see if China breaks, it's still at 7.1. Perhaps we should have watched the euro conversion to see the ultimate strength of the US dollar or the US dollar index, but really that's going sideways as well. What's interesting though, gold, Bitcoin not going anywhere. The flight to safety is all a flight to the US dollar. The market around the world, no matter what I say, the market has faith in those instincts of the people in charge of the US dollar who are winging it. But so far, everybody seems to have confidence. Now, this crisis is again, it's unprecedented in its severity, in its quickness, and the fact that it hit all around the world all at once. Usually, these things start in one place or another. The U.S. Housing market, the U.S. stock market, whatever. Everybody all at once. So how it progresses, we can expect will be different. That sort of year lag when the stock market collapsed in the US, when the asset bubble started bursting, and before it to really hit the rest of the economy, isn't here this time. It's hitting everything simultaneously. And in fact, the underlying US economy was never really doing well for what, 8 years before that. So, you know, you want to talk about how slow it moved? That's the issue at hand. All right. The general rise in gold has been there for the last 20 years, no question about it. And that makes sense. The rise in the price of gold is a rise in a reflection against the underlying economies of the world. Okay, not so much the stock market. And we have probably seen most of that gain already. It seems to be moving sideways. Bitcoin, not really sure. It doesn't seem to be the thing to buy in a flight to quality. So maybe it's not going to go anywhere. Is it something to watch through these gold, Bitcoin? So far, the answer is absolutely not. They're just not irrelevant. It's the US dollar that seems to matter. That's why I want to keep an eye on the velocity of the US dollar, how rapidly it's turning over. It's already down to 1 or turning over only once per year instead of the usual 2.4. But these other things, no. The faith of the world seems to be, for now at least, in the United States. The US dollar is indeed the, well, gold standard of the world. 85% of world trade. It's what people need. If world trade collapses or the US economy falls dramatically, remember our debt to GDP only goes up. And when you talk about debt to GDP, since the demand for US dollars has a lot to do with world trade, you have to kind of add like 85% to our GDP overall. So, sometimes you have to look at it as we don't have a $20 trillion GDP, we have something more in the order of 27-ish, 28-ish. Anyway, I'm rambling. The point is gold, Bitcoin, not doing anything. If you have some good ideas as to why, I would love to hear them because I don't quite get it. I thought for sure they'd at least get a bit of a bump. Not happening. And it's not at all like 2008 in that sense. Right? Thanks.